Bit of a sad one today, guys. It is the final Paralives developer weekly chat that was released this weekend. If you didn't know, the developers will take to Discord and just answer any of the community questions that Patrons kind of post. We're going to have a look today at the one that was posted, the last ever one before release, which is kind of bittersweet really, because I really enjoyed looking through all of these. It's where I get a lot of my information from for the videos. So I do just want to make a quick disclaimer that I'm not going to be going through every single comment or question in this dev chat because there are so many and I will be here for a very long time, so I'm just going to pick the ones that I think are most relevant and that you guys want to know about. Without further ado, we're going to dive into the weekly chat. So this week the community's choice question was from Wicked Brony. I recognise pushing back the EA release must have been a very difficult decision for all of you. I know that you were also careful to not make any promises about the release date until you were certain about it. I know, and the rest of us know, that you wouldn't have done it unless it was completely necessary, so thank you for your courage. We can wait a little longer. That said, since you're going to have a few more months before early access, does that mean we can expect to have a few more game mechanics available before the game comes out, or should we expect more or less the same thing promised in the initial build? Alex replied with, thank you, it was not an easy decision indeed. You can expect about the same amount of features as right now, it's just that they'll be more polished and have less bugs. We'll add a few specific features like being able to invite a para home, because otherwise it's hard to find your friends or romantic interest by looking for them around town. We're also working on making gameplay mechanics easier to pick up for new players through tutorials and help screens. I would kind of expect that to be the response, since they did say that they're delaying the game specifically for the purpose of fixing those bugs in the live mode. It's not because they just wanted to add more features, just purely because they wanted to work on the bugs and just polish the game. I do love that they said here about being able to invite a para home, because I didn't even think about that. I think probably a lot of people would kind of overlook that as, you know, how actually would we be able to find our characters' friends or like romantic interests around town? That's really cool. I'd also want to know what other specific features they're adding. It sounds quite exciting, because I feel like there is already quite a lot there that's like developed on like a surface level. Maybe it seems like there isn't a lot of features, but if we look at what they do have, it does seem very well fleshed out. In my opinion, just happy about that. The next question is from Maisie Fly. During early access release, will you consider doing polls again when it comes to more divisive gameplay features like being able to control a pet versus not? Things people feel strongly about. Once we release in early access, people will be able to send us their feedback, bugs, suggestions. Doing polls from time to time on social media or Discord could be fun. We'll have to see. I love this because this is kind of what Paralives has been about from the very beginning, is just having that transparency with the community and really wanting the feedback. So I really hope that they continue to do so, because they are going to be introducing a lot more features as we go along, like pets, world edit tools, weather, lots of these complex systems that I think the team will really benefit from having the community's feedback on. Are the existing Patreon lock posts all going public on May 25th, or is there some other plan? So as I kind of mentioned earlier, yes, Gab says that is the current plan. So instead of making the Patreon page public, they're going to just move it to May 25th, 2026. So that also kind of suggests to me that they aren't planning on delaying any further. I'm not gonna, take that as definite, but it does sound quite positive that they really seem to be certain that it's not going to be delayed again. This isn't really a question, but I thought it was quite funny, this little bug here. Sabrius asks, do any of the devs have paracells that will be randomly spawning in-game? Chloe says, yes, I tend to mistreat the paras I play, as when I work, I'm busy making a town, I don't have time to tend to their needs. So I decided that if I was to mistreat a para, it should be mine. Therefore, Chloe Coles is in the town and she owns most of the bigger landmarks of the city. Our castle, our museum, our schools. She's quite rich. Also, because the others tried to erase me at some point, there are now 2 Chloes in town. Joke's on them. I actually love that, and she raises an interesting point about her para Chloe owning most of the landmarks. I don't know if that is like a confirmed feature or if it's just a story that she has kind of in her head. I really hope that one day we do get the opportunity to own lots, own land, because I feel like that is such an integral part of a life sim, is who has the monopoly of the land and the lots in the town. I love that about Sims 2, where we could own different lots and like community lots. I really hope that they bring this back. I think they will, because it is kind of an integral feature. I want to say on that note that I will have a video when Paralives comes out about the kind of the townies and the the pre-mades in the game. I want to go into the lore of them and just kind of do a little deep dive. That would be really cool. Blaurbell says, it was only in the middle of August of this year, almost 3 weeks after the deadline, that I found out that you could have furniture and paras named after you. Will this reward ever return in the future? I think that's a very good point to make, because the game was really gaining traction at that time. A lot of people probably wouldn't have been around long enough to redeem those rewards. So Gab says, as you noted, we've closed these top rewards underlined below as of July 31st. While the release of the game is delayed to May, we're unfortunately not planning on reopening these rewards, so we can focus entirely on improving the game and making it ready for the early access release. While that is sad, it is again totally understandable, because I do feel like the Paralives team, they just need to focus on getting the game ready at this point, not really so much adding new features. Although I would like to mention that the game is very moddable, so I know it's not the same as actually the developers making an object after you specifically, but in the future we will have a lot of customizability, so potentially we can rename objects in the game. Wicked Brony says, what inspired the decision to switch from dev chats to live streams? I'm curious what the reasoning was behind the decision and looking forward to the stream on Tuesday. Before I read out Gab's answer, I do feel like this is probably influenced a lot by the feedback they got about not only the live stream on Patreon, but also the lack of content put out about the live mode. So Gab says they wanted to prioritise showing off the game off to patrons and the public, so the community could see directly the state of the game, our progress, and understand how features work. So yeah, Gab just put it better than me. They'd originally announced the end of dev chats in December. With the release delayed to May, it makes more sense to our team to focus on fixing the game and showcasing it in bi-weekly streams, answering questions in the live chat, reading up comments when the streams are posted, and gathering feedback. They'll continue to answer questions around social media, and emails and interactions with devs will still be possible on Discord. So yeah, again, it seems like they are just going full steam ahead with prioritizing just fixing all those bugs before early access, and again it just shows that they are really dedicated and focused on this and not wanting to postpone release any further. Which leads me to the next point. The Dean asks, would you postpone again if you think you still won't be ready in May? And what are your most important plans leading up to the early access release? Alex says, we're focusing on improving the current state of the live mode in the next months, and we are confident in our new release date. We're not planning to delay again. Amazing. So yeah, they are not planning to delay again. He hasn't said we are not. We're definitely not delaying again, but it seems that they are very confident that they aren't going to have to delay again, which is amazing news. I'm so happy about that. Obviously, if they did have to delay again, then it just is what it is. Yeah, it seems like they aren't planning on delaying any further. Obviously, that might change as we go along. We can't see. It is 5 months away at this point. Anything could happen in that time, but I'm hopeful. America Online subscriber says, will the scene be all hands on deck with live mode to make sure it meets the quality bar before EA release? Yes, our programmers are hard at work on fixing the most important issues, and we are running private playtests each month to make sure to focus on the biggest problems that players have. I love that Alex says that they're running private playtests each month. I could be totally wrong about this, but I feel like they weren't running playtests that often, or maybe as often as they should have been, to kind of like make sure that the game is working as intended, not just from a bugs point of view, but also from how the player is enjoying it. Do they feel that the game mechanics make sense? Do they work properly? So I think that's good. Nebula Dreamer wanted to ask, what are the ways you're improving the live mode for the next stream on the 25th? And Alex says, for the next public stream, we fixed some of the important bugs from last stream, NPCs stuck into walls, interactions that can't cancel, etc. So that's really cool. They've already fixed some of the more integral bugs that would kind of break that immersion and could be detrimental to people returning to the game. So that's amazing. I'm really glad they've done that, because I remember in the stream we did see quite a few bugs NPCs getting stuck in the walls and like in the stairs floor. So yeah, that's great. Superloop says, how will it work to translate mods? I mean, how we will take out the mods we want to translate. Will we have a tool connected to the Steam workshop allowing us to take out the mod, translate it, test in game, and upload the translation directly to the workshop? Jeremy says, if you download someone else's mod and then translate the strings in it using our translation tools, you'd need to create your own mod that needs the other mod to work, and that adds translations for it. You shouldn't be able to update the other person's mod directly since you're not its author, so it would be a separate translation mod. You'd also be at the mercy of the other mod creator, because if they change anything, it might break compatibility with your translation mod. It might be much easier if people collaboratively work together on mods and add translation to the base thing. Yes, so I'm really not a modder, so I don't know much about this. We have already seen kind of the in-game translation tools, modding tools that have been developed, so it already provides a good basis for that. So I think, as Jeremy says here, they have really thought about this and how it would work for players in terms of being at the mercy of the original mod creator, breaking compatibility if there's an update, just kind of like how we see in Sims 4. It just shows to me that they have put a lot of forethought into their systems in the game, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the kind of mods that people do create and all the possibilities that we'll have. And then Ozymandias asks, how do you all feel about the delay? Richard says, at first I would have preferred to not delay, but with some thinking I prefer to serve a well-cooked lasagna instead of something undercooked. Yes, I could not agree more. That is kind of the analogy I used on West 4 even in my last video, or in my video about the Paralives delay. I said I think they probably were really sad about it. As Chloe says, it was a hard decision. Could see the bugs just as much as everyone else, and it was disappointing to delay, but they're saying, you know, it was for the best. Leia says she feels relieved. Taking our time, making sure it's the best we can do is the smart move to guarantee our long-term success. Yeah, I totally agree, and I can see why she does feel relieved, because I can imagine it was an immense amount of pressure with the community kind of, you know, there was so much hype for the game, there is so much hype for the game, and I can only imagine the pressure and knowing what they knew behind the scenes about the game having all of these bugs. I think it was just so good for them. Taking off all of that pressure will just let them feel more rested, less stressed. It will only mean more success for the game. And exactly the point is, Leah says, we didn't want to end up at the bottom of your Steam library because people play it once and got annoyed by the paras doing weird things with the walls. That is kind of what happened to Inzoi. Is I think it was released a little bit too early, then people just don't want to give it another go. I think people are starting to now. I watched a Fantasia video the other day where she said a lot of her viewers have actually gotten back into Inzoi because of her videos on it, which is really cool. But yeah, you just don't want to start out with that kind of reputation, because I feel like it's very hard to come back from it. Alejandro says that I was conflicted because despite knowing the amount of work, I was ready to do more hours. I wanted to do things like game jams, just straight 48 hours of coding would have been fun for this project, which in my opinion that sounds a little bit like Burnout Central. We want people to be not burnt out and not stressed and healthy and happy, because you know, your health is the most, I always say this, health is the most important thing and should come before everything else. I know it's easy for me to say because I'm not a developer of this game, it's not my life's project, but at least they're not going to be crunching anymore. And then the other devs kind of just say that they do think it's for the best, and they've been running with the lasagna metaphor. They want us all to eat a hot delicious lasagna. It's quite ironic because I actually had lasagna for dinner last night and I was thinking delicious it was with the nice melted cheese. So I feel like this is just the universe saying that this is the right choice. Tiramisu Colsis Iceman says, I saw in the stream that paras currently teleport to work. Is it currently possible for them to be late or to not go to work at all in this case? Anna says paras should eventually go to their physical workplace instead of just teleporting, so they might be late depending on the time it takes to get there, but for now that doesn't impact your workday. It should also be possible to cancel going to work, but there is no effect on your work yet apart from skipping this day's salary. So I really hope that this will be the case, which Anna says it will be, because as I mentioned in a previous video, I did hate that in The Sims 4 where the Sims just teleport, they just disappear off the lot just to go to work. And I understand that's because there is no open world, but with Paralives we will have an open world, so it will eventually be possible, and it just does add to that realism in the game, which is so important for many players. Ocelot says, can you tell us what skills are under the outdooriness category? Jeremy says, nothing that will be present in early access. I think it was fishing, something I added in a hack week a few years ago, but it wasn't developed on or used at all after the hack week, so we'll probably disable it in the future. So I really hope they don't forget about outdoorsy things like gardening, fishing, all those sorts of things, because they are integral to a life simulator, especially with the world being open. You'd hope that we can kind of interact with it, and I do know, again, I can't comment on this because it's not public, but there are features that will allow us to interact with the world. I do hope it's something that they focus on in future. I know they are planning to. I think it is so important and something that they shouldn't neglect, because a lot of players will kind of expect it at this point. Like gardening in particular is a really important skill. It ties in nicely with the cooking skill and like maybe a science skill in future, like potential university, college. So I think they really should not underestimate, I'm not saying they are, but I think they shouldn't underestimate the importance of this kind of activities in the game. And Nanami says, are you planning after adding pets in the future to add more kinds of pets like birds, reptiles, etc. to the game? I know that even pets themselves won't be there as quick, but I'm still curious because I'd love to have my first pet bird in the game file in the future. Anna says, for now the only plans we have is to add cats, dogs and horses in the future. Other animals including birds are being considered, but there's no official plans yet. So again, I really agree. I think that this is another integral thing that many people have asked for. Like cats, dogs and horses specifically I feel are integral, but the other pets like birds, fish, reptiles, small mammals, I think they are still very important because they are a massive part of a lot of people's lives, having those pets with in your family and your homes. And I think people need to see that in their game. Me personally, I was just very relieved that they're adding horses because, you know, as a little horse girl myself, you know, I was very sad with the horses in The Sims 4, but I loved them in The Sims 3. So I really hope that we get them, we can ride them around town in Paralives. So I hope that anyone else can have the pets that they want in the game. Joy says, a quick question on groups and the multi-selection tool. Is there an interaction on the paras to add them to a group, or is the multi-selection tool the only one to create a group? And is selection area only a rectangle, or can it be a custom polygon to avoid adding an unwanted para to the group? Jeremy replied with, you can shift right click characters to add them to your current selection, otherwise you have a rectangle as a selection box. You can always remove characters from your selection if unwanted para folks get in. So I love that. It seems quite simple, a nice simple, well thought out system. I do hope, and I saw other people saying this, that they kind of tone down the circle that is shown when you're highlighting characters, because it does seem a little bit intrusive on the eyes. I've seen that they are gonna, I think, edit that, and I'm sure they will. And finally, Joy says, and a bit of a follow-up to my previous question, how far from our active para can another para be selected to be in the same group as our active para? Jeremy says you can multi-select them at any distance from each other, but when you decide to have them dance or eat or talk, they'll walk back to be near each other before doing their action as a group and get together cards. So it does seem quite logical that paras will be together when they're doing a group action. We wouldn't want them to be really far away, because that, again, just doesn't make sense and just breaks that immersivity. I think we got a really nice amount of questions for the last dev chat, really in depth. We got some more reassurance about the delay and the release in May 25th, that it seems like they really aren't planning or anticipate that it will be delayed again. That does give me a lot of confidence. We got some more insight into the systems, like for example the kind of outdoors systems, insight into how the devs were feeling about the delay and their approach to it. So it does seem like they were really grateful for our feedback, and that was kind of the reason that they made the delay, and they are going to continue to be very transparent with the community, which is amazing. I do apologize if I have mispronounced any names in this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I will be covering any news that we do get. Obviously we're not going to have these developer chats anymore, but I will cover any news that gets posted that is publicly available, and all of the streams going forward. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope you did enjoy. Please do take a quick second to subscribe, leave a comment, a like. It really does help me out. I'm trying to get to 200 subscribers by the end of January. I don't know if that's a realistic goal. I hope so. Thank you so much for all the love on my videos. I cannot believe the amount of you guys that are staying to watch and just show that love to me. I'm going to stop waffling on now, and I will see you in the next one.